Hello everyone, welcome back to the Football Amateur Show. I'm your host, Alfonso Castaneda. I already have my last name wrong. Accompanied by Tristen Mancilla, my co-host Tristen Mancilla.
Yo, hello.
Alright, today we have a very special guest. We have Salsa Women SC, and here representing the club, we have the assistant coach, Elmer Rosales, a soccer player, Eileene Rosales, and another player, Jennifer Munoz. Right on, there we go. Right on. Woo! Give it up for our guests here today. Alright, let's go. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and everything, just coming out and talking about something so important about women's soccer, which is such an interesting topic to talk about. I guess before we start, this is a new team, right?
Yes.
When did you start the team, and how did that whole process go about?
So this is our first year in WPSL.
Uh-huh.
The team has been around probably about 2.5 years, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
But the goal was to get to WPSL and play there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've reached out through various sources of multimedia, looking for players, and then reaching out to players that Coach Aaron knew about, and players that wanted to continue developing so that we could be competitive in WPSL.
Right on.
Yeah.
And what is the WPSL for those people that don't know?
Women's Premier Soccer League.
So it's like a second division almost, right? For
Yeah, it is
professionally,
actually
right?
second division. Currently, right now, there are, I believe, about 18 to 20 women competing in the World Cup that formerly played in the WPSL.
Right on. I actually heard about that too, right? Yeah.
I remember reading the announcement that you guys, very recently, actually, like January, right? I think
Right.
got accepted into it. What was that celebration like?
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but at the same time, it's kind of nerve-wracking because we want to be able to compete at a high level.
Yeah.
And as a first-year team, now halfway through the season, it's apparent that we are on a big curve.
Yeah.
And we have to correct a lot of things. But just recently, the things are kind of showing light and coming together. And we're now, the idea of the project was long-term, not just first season. Although we would have loved to have a great first season.
Right.
But we understand our situation, and we now understand how to build from that and get better.
Right on. I guess going to our players now, I do want to know a little bit more about, your playing career. Can you talk about your experiences you've had before? We can start with Jennifer.
All right, so I'm Jennifer. I grew up here in Orange County. I started at a local club, Huntington Beach Football Club. I don't think it's around right now. They had some really good female players that played in the national team, the U.S. So that's where I started. I went to high school in Newport Harbor High School, Newport Beach. Was there for 4 years. After that, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep playing. I just wanted to go to school and dedicate my career.
Yeah.
And so I went to junior college, Golden West, right here in Huntington.
Yeah.
And the coaches there, they kind of motivated me, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I started training, and eventually a school in Tennessee, a private school.
Right on.
It's an NAIA, but I really like it because they have a lot of internationals, players from France, Sweden, Scotland. So it was a mix of everything, Brazilians, everybody. So that's the reason why I took it. And he gave me a full ride, so I transferred there. When I went to Tennessee, that's when everything changed. I started getting noticed by people, and then eventually I ended up getting called up for the Guatemala national team.
Guatemalan? Whoa, that's wait. Oof. You just dropped that on us. Okay, wait up. Wait, Guatemalan national team, really?
Yeah.
So, when was that? That's pretty cool, yeah.
My first debut was 2016.
2016?
Yeah, February 2016.
Wait. So
just
that was your
dropped it.
debut. Whoa.
Just kind of dropped it like, no big
Nonchalantly, she was like, Guatemalan.
Yeah,
Just a heads up, we do have national players on our team.
Really? That's really cool.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that right now. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, debut was 2016.
Yeah, not a lot of people, honestly, a lot of people
Yeah.
do know, but I honestly don't talk about it. I'm just very mellow.
Yeah.
When people say that, I'm just like, yeah, I played there.
That's really cool, though. I mean, that's really awesome. You got to represent, the country.
Yeah, so it was a good experience because I played in the Olympic qualifiers. So
Wow.
my group stage was Trinidad, Canada, and Guyana.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right on.
So it was a good experience for me because not only that, but it helped me realize how much more I needed to improve, how much more our country needed to improve. Like playing against Canada is like playing against USA. You know, they're up there. So that's a little background of me, and I'm gonna add some little beach soccer in there.
Of course. Brian, Brian Easler, yeah.
So I got to travel to Portugal. I played in the Euros Winners Cup. That's
for the beach soccer, or are you talking about? Oh, wow.
That's like the, I guess, professional beach soccer. And not a lot of people know about it, you know?
Yeah. What's it called again?
Euros Winners Cup.
Euros Winners Cup,
Portugal.
Right on.
So I was there 2017, 2018, I think. Yeah, 18. And that's a whole different game. The ball is all in the air, literally all in the air, throwing bicycle kicks.
Yeah.
It's harder than you think it is. So
way harder. Man, I went to go pick up with Brian one time. I remember the first time I went. Tired first 5 minutes. It's like it's because running on the beach is something different, man. I swear, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, get your legs strong, my legs
Hell
strong.
yeah. And dribbling is a lot different because it's kind of like juggle based almost, right? You could say.
I think if you factor in all the other ways of playing football, soccer, if you take an indoor futsal, beach soccer, and you combine it into playing on the full field 11, it gives you an edge over competition, especially if you're doing it consistently. Not only physically you have that edge, but also mentally, because now you've got to decide. In the smaller games, you have to decide how to make quick decisions, and when that transitions onto the big field, it feels like you have a lot more time to make better decisions.
I agree. I feel like, if you try different types of soccer, there's different things you could learn from each type of thing. So futsal with technique, beach soccer with also with technique, almost like, which is a different type of technique, and stamina also, and just physicality, and I agree, definitely. Like,
I think, and some of the other, like freestyle soccer and street soccer.
Freestyle,
those things have, to work on first touch and your creativity, that also, like, I think that adds tremendously to the game if you take all these aspects and work on them separately and combine them at the end on working on full 11. It gives you a big advantage.
For sure. I guess going on to our next player, Eileene, can you talk a little bit about yourself or where you've been playing before?
I played for numerous amounts of club teams, but I started when I was about 3.5.
3.5?
I was forced into it.
Forced in, but...
But my dad has been there for me, like, for every team we've been on and everywhere we've been. First year of high school, I made it onto the varsity team at Whittier High School freshman year, and then I played with them ever since. And it sucked because, like, it was such a struggle to be top 3. Like, we were always, like, last place or second to last. And
You're talking about the league? Like the
high school league.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so we just had, like, an amazing group of girls coming together from all over the place, and we just pulled it out this last year to make it into second. We did beat the first place team, who hasn't lost in, like, years consecutively. But and then Aaron texted my dad, and then that's when I went to go try out. And I don't know, like, Aaron he has faith in all his players, and he gets all types of players from around, like, the world, basically, and who's played on the, like, national teams. And I haven't had a coach who has, like, so much faith in me and what I could do for being so young to play with these adults who has played on national teams. And he's allowed me to play a lot, and that's about it.
Right on. Yeah, Aaron, was Aaron the one who DM'd me, by the way? For the salsa?
I believe so.
Aaron was super enthusiastic. He was like, yo, we got to get these girls on the team. I'll get them on. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, dude, hell yeah. He's super enthusiastic. I don't even know the guy, but he seems like a great coach. And,
Aaron is a great coach. He's a great person. Above all, he's a great person.
Yeah, I could see that.
So he's had a lot of the women and girls, Eileene is probably one of the youngest. We also have 2 other younger ones from the 02, 03 training with us.
Oh, wow. Wait, so like high school almost, right?
High school. Right, just training with us just to get them ready if the time is appropriate to add them into games. But he's put so much faith, and he's done so much footwork to get this team going. And obviously, if you've seen our social media and our sponsors, like, he's done so much. Like every time I've called them, or he answers his phone, which is unique, you know, because he's so busy. But every time I call him, he's like, just got out of a meeting. And so it's great to see somebody like have the passion and know that it's in the end, it's for a good cause. Yeah. And the development of women's soccer here, it helps. It helps a lot to have somebody like that.
It helps to have someone passionate about the sport. And when someone has that passion, that dying passion, they will work so hard, you know, to accomplish what they want. And I think that's awesome, especially for development. And I guess talking more about development, was that the whole reason to start this club here in LA? And how do you guys compete with those other clubs that are already based in LA?
To be honest with you, the only way we compete with them is just in the 90 minutes. We don't focus on what they do as far as their training, who their coaches are, what players they have. For us, it was just really the idea of how do we have our own program and be different from everybody else? Yeah. That means our development. You know, it's great to win titles and trophies and medals and this and that. Yeah. But in the end, for me personally, and I know I don't think I'll be speaking out of line for Aaron, is when our players go back to their universities or their national teams or their club teams, what have we done in the end? And if the coaches notice the difference, if the players have noticed the difference of their game, their development, which is, you know, that will always be key for me personally, and I know it is for Aaron as well as Coach Tarzan and Ben, is development. If if we see these women becoming better players and using that not just with us, but outside of our program, then we've done what we needed to do. And that's pretty much what we're looking forward to.
Right on. No, that's good philosophy to have, I think, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So is it safe to assume that everyone on the team now has been there kind of since the beginning?
No.
Oh, really?
No, I wish. But, you know, for instance, Jen came in maybe about a month and a half.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Recent. Okay.
She was on our roster to come in, but it was just her coming back to us and being able to train and play with us, as well as a few other players. And I think that's what's caused us the issues in the beginning of the season, is that we didn't have the proper time prior to the season to be able to mesh well and also calculate what our formations were going to be and who works well together. Okay. So now, halfway through the season, we have an idea of what players can combine with each other and work well together to have that build-up. For us, like I said earlier, it's not this first season we had to do everything. It was just, let's see what we have, try to build it, and we're thinking long-term. And then once long-term comes in and the players are happy with what we've done, they'll continue to stay with us and continue to develop with us. And we're hoping that that's the direction we're headed in.
Right on.
That's interesting. What is it like to really like see two players, and when you like pair them together and you see them have great chemistry together? What is it like, kind of like seeing that on the field?
Two players is great. Yeah. But in the game, when we can see the build up out the back, the combination of 3-4 touches leading to the attacking third, we're just like mind blown. Like at that point, and I'll give you an example. Friday night's game against Legends, all 4 coaches, including myself, we became fans. We we're sitting there pumped up on the sideline watching these women play and connect. Yeah. That we literally became fans. We were just like excited. Yeah. Like you might as well put us in the stands because we were just happy to watch them play. Yeah. And do what had been missing in the first half of the season. The simple just connect and move forward together was now happening. And it even happened. We played out of town on Saturday in Murrieta, and it was happening within 60 minutes as well. It was just good to see that build up and that trust between each other.
Right on. Yeah, because it takes time to develop that. You know what I'm saying? Talk about the competition of the league. How is it, and how many teams are there in your division?
I think in our division we have 6.
6 teams?
Yeah.
And how's the whole competition there? I know I've heard of Legends FC.
Legends is obviously very well known because of their youth club, and they're a good team. They have quality players there. Right. All the teams are actually pretty good. There's no downplaying any of the teams. Everybody's competitive. Yeah. I think the one thing that I like is just the sportsmanship from everybody has been at a high level, which is very rare from transitioning from coaching in club at U18 and under, transitioning over to the women's side, there's a lot more maturity. Even from our fans and other teams' fans, there's just more maturity. It's a breath of fresh air compared to, the youngers and parents just going crazy on the sideline or, I've seen teams with eight plus coaches on the sideline, and we've all parents trying to coach. So it's been very different, and it's been, even us as for our team, LA Salsa, we were directing for a minute. We were 4 of us directing, and we noticed that micromanaging the team was probably an issue. And so I think recently, the last couple games, we've got a hold of that, and we're kind of now just let them figure it out on the field. They're old enough, they've played long enough that they can do that.
Right.
And so it's been, it's been a transition from trying to direct from the sideline to now just letting them do their thing.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm a coach as well. And when I first started, all right, go pass it over there, go do this. But you got to let them also figure that out on themselves, or otherwise they won't think for themselves, And I think that's important as well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to kind of get right into it. Like, I think one of the things that I find most interesting about football is how it accepts women. And what I mean by that is, like, compared to like American sports, there's some minor rule changes. Like with basketball, you use a smaller ball or smaller field, and with baseball, it's kind of like a different sport entirely almost. Yeah. But with football, there is no difference. So women go into the sport with the mentality, and possibly additional pressure, I don't know, that they're playing the same exact situations as men. So would you say that fact plays to their benefit, that they play with the same exact rules? Or do you think there's some unforeseen downturn to that?
I was talking to you earlier, right, Alfonso? I think if you look at women's football 4 to 8 years ago, it was competitive, but it was based mostly on strength and speed. And if you look at the World Cup, if you've caught any games now, you see the technical side.
Right.
Yeah.
And the technical side is definitely not different from the men's. Like, the women are doing what the men can do. It's not at that speed, and maybe in some cases it can be, but it is exciting to watch. Like, I've been watching it and keeping up, and I love, and honestly, even from our women on our sideline, what our women are able to do, I'm just like, oh, wow, like, okay, I know I have this comfort where I think we could put these women to play with men. Yeah. And it would be either a close game. If not, we would probably take it, because I think the women can technically play a lot smarter. And one thing over 20 years of coaching that I've learned is that women can play left, right foot easily, like that. Men, if you play only with your right, you're only going to play with that right. Yeah. And if you only play with your left, which is a left, to find a male player with a left foot, it's not, it's only at the highest level will you find a male that can play left and right. Right. But, we've had scrimmage games against Wilson the Wilson boys team. Right on, yeah. And that was, those matches were good. It preps us. Yeah. Gives us a little bit of confidence booster too for the women because of what they do on the field against them. But I mean, to finish off with that, I believe the women's game is at the same level as men, as long as they don't change the rules and keep everything the same way. Yeah. Eventually, and if you look at it now, where World Cup is, another 4 years of women's development. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean. On paper, the women are better than the men.
So true. Hey, so
fair enough.
For sure.
I kind of want to add into that. Yeah. I agree with Elmer, because I just came back from Puerto Rico. I was playing there. Okay. That's why I was late, and I know there's college players that were late to come to Salsa. When I was out there, it was obviously our team females, and they also had a men's side. Every training we would train with the men's, and you can see the speed. And a lot of us kept with the guys. It was just, we had to push ourselves harder and harder and harder. And then when we got to our game time, you can tell, we're obviously quicker, better, faster than all the other teams out there. So what I'm trying to say is, us females, we can compete with the guys, but obviously, they're faster.
Yeah.
But, we still have that same technique, what he was saying.
Yeah.
And, they might hear this, but Puerto Rico, the league, the players that they brought, like me, myself, obviously we made it better for them, but they're still in the process where it needs to get better. Our team, we won the league, we won the champions, all that, in the island. But in my opinion, they still need to improve more. And if they want to develop better, they gotta bring better players like they did with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way they'll grow. If not, I don't think. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of want to ask this. It's kind of like a deep question, but I feel like it's important. What do people in general need to understand about women in sports in general? Like, what's the biggest misunderstanding that you hate to hear that you just want to be cleared up?
Coming from Guatemala, we don't get much support. I think money is the issue.
For sure.
I know there's some teams that now they're paying women the same amount as men, but I think one of the important ones is getting paid. We don't get paid much.
Yeah.
But a lot of us, we're doing it because we love the sport, and it's a sacrifice. I have a lot of behind the scenes that nobody knows about, how much we suffered just to play soccer.
I actually wanted to ask about that. Is it discouraging, I guess, because being a pro soccer player as a woman, I feel is a lot different than a man, just because about the payment, like you're saying. Do you get discouraged? Does it ever discourage you to go man, I don't want to go pro anymore just because I don't think it's viable?
Yes,
to do so?
all the time.
Right?
I actually felt like that a few weeks ago. But the good thing is I'm surrounded by good people, people that support me. And I'm going to give him a shout out. His name's Johnny Mejia. He's one of my mentors. Smartest guy, knows everything about fitness, about life, all that. And something he's taught me is 3 words. Not only applying it to soccer, but in life. 3 words is practice, execution, and perfection. Those 3 things kept with me ever since. For example, soccer, you want to practice, right?
Yeah.
Practice. Next step, you want to execute that now. You want to do it. And then after that, perfection. You probably reach that goal.
Right.
So I use those 3 things, not only in soccer, but in life, because there's moments where, we don't get much support, and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to keep myself going? You know? And it sucks. It really does. When I was in Puerto Rico, I suffered a lot. And sorry to say it if the club hears this, but it's true. I'm an honest person. I'm just saying.
Go for it. Yeah.
And, a lot of us, we come from backgrounds. I have friends that came playing in Sweden. I have another girl that played in England, in West Ham, something like that. And they weren't really treating us well, like the club.
Oh, I see.
They weren't really treating us well. Some of us didn't get paid on time. I get it.
Yeah.
Living situation, things that were promised were not there. So, from hearing from my other teammates, they had the same situation wherever they play around the country. There's little things that they don't support us females. And then the men's side, it's they're fine.
Exactly.
And so, that's the only problem. But, we all talked about it. Like I said, we did it because we love the game. And, that's just something that people, I think, need to realize in female soccer, that I think equality is very important.
Yeah, for sure.
I think to add to what Jen is saying, that saddens me to hear that. It saddens me
too,
that,
actually.
that women players have the capability of going to another country, another state, whatever, whatever it may be, right? But not be promised what they were told. I know personally here in Long Beach, where I grew up, where I'm from. I have a lot of connections, a lot of friends that played Milliken, Wilson, Lakewood, Pauley. I know these guys. There's one particular guy that I know from Milliken who is a scout. He's recruiting. He's done his work out here. He's sending players as young as 11, 12 years old to Europe. to try out. Now, I guarantee you he's not sending them and leaving them high and dry in Europe. He's making sure that everything that he promised those kids while they're out there is being delivered. Now, can you tell me anybody out here that's doing that for the women's side? It's rare. It's almost non-existent, which is unfair, you know. And I think if I take my coaching hat off and put that aside right now, you know, obviously Eileene is my daughter. You know, since she was 3.5, she's played. She's played at a competitive level. Like she said earlier, she's been on lots of club teams, but we're always looking to develop. And it worries me as a parent that I want her. I know her capability as a player. I know she can be at a high level, but where is she going to go, and what does she have to go through to be there? That worries me as a parent. But now I put my coaching hat back on, and I'm like, well, what doesn't break you makes you stronger. And this is why I love Aaron's plan and what he's done with this team. Is you look at the situation that we have right here with Jen and Eileene. You have a club player who started at 3.5, going through the system, and she just graduated this month from high school. And then you have a seasoned vet who's been through the ropes, knows what it takes to be competitive, knows exactly what to do to work. If you look at Jen's video on Instagram, she puts a lot of us to shame.
Actually, I've seen a few. Seriously.
Puts a lot of us to shame. And
KENNMN. Follow.
Definitely do, actually.
And if you just her work ethic and Jen's attitude towards the game and towards working with anybody alongside her, that for me as looking at Eileene as a player, a young player, is, hey, that's a good combination. Like, there's a lot of development. There's a lot of things that Eileene could pick up from her. And obviously other younger players too, because our team is half and half. We have a lot of veteran players, Division I, Division II players with us. But then we have younger players that are just coming out of club into the bigger stage and want to either get sharper for college or, you know, continue developing. So what better way to do that than pairing them up with players who've already been through that?
To add that, I wasn't going to come back home. I was actually going to head to Nashville. I was going to play on, I think they're in UWS League.
Which one, the NWSL?
No, it's a different league. It's
WSL?
UWS. That's where, like, LA Galaxy is at.
Okay.
I played in that league before 2 years ago in Indiana. So I was actually going to head there this summer, Nashville. But I talked to Aaron. I really wanted to go home just because I did my job in Puerto Rico, and it's just a lot of things good and bad had happened. Now, obviously, Puerto Rico is an amazing country. All the friends I met, very welcoming. I might go back just to, you know, vacation and stuff.
Right.
But I talked to Aaron on the phone, and I was like, look, I'll come back home, I'll play, I'll do whatever it takes, you know. And he told me, you know, it's a new team. Some players I knew before are going to be on the team. And I was like, you know what, I really don't mind what team, who's there. I just want to play. And not only that, I know I'm going to be surrounded by young players. And that's what I want. I just want to just play and see what they have and then help them. Like, I'm a quiet person. Like, I can see when someone's doing something wrong, I will say it out there, but I'll talk to them in person. Like, that's just how I am. And so I told Aaron, I'll go, I'll train, I'll play, and I don't care what people will say, you know, why you're back home, this and that. At the end of the day, you know, I'm only doing it not only for me, but, you know, for the young players. And like I said, we're a new team, you know, results, they won't be there. I believe it will be there. And like Elmer said, you know, they're trying to make it a long-term thing. So I think that's a very good idea, because the longer you keep the team together, the chemistry is going to go quick.
I think it's so interesting how the pathways to going pro is so much different for you guys. It's just great what Aaron's doing, because he's prioritizing the woman. You know what I'm saying? And I feel what the other clubs that you had, they just weren't prioritizing that team. They just didn't care. They just wanted to have a women's team. And I feel like if we get more people that are prioritizing, these women, supporting them, and then paying them how they should be paid, it would give them more of an incentive to develop and to keep training to be part of that development here in U.S. soccer, which I think is really important. And I think that's what hopefully we're gonna get there. That's what I want. I want full support for these women because I feel like they deserve it, especially with how they've been performing. I'm sorry, I'm giving my own opinion right here. I know I'm going off. I'm going off right now, but yeah, I just it's because like it's so interesting that you guys talking about this, because not a lot of people talk about the pathway of going pro and how the payment is it's just like
it's non-existent. Honestly,
if
we want to be real about it, it's non-existent. Like, I mean, if you think about it, if you guys have played and we're local, if you think about the number of players that are coming out of here and turning pro, it's for males, it's slim. Yeah, like really slim. Now imagine on the women's side.
It's even worse.
It's even worse, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is that they play just as well. Like it's the same thing. Like I've dealt with the men's side. I've coached boys, and I've had my own teams. I used to be a former player. Like I've seen this, and if women can compete at a high level, why not get paid what the men do? Why don't they deserve the same thing?
Right.
It shouldn't be. There should be no gray to it. It's just black and white. Like they deserve to get paid the same as men.
Right. Yeah. They work just as hard. I'm serious. Like they put just as many hours. They put they don't see the whole behind the scenes. What they do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going like, whew, I'm getting heated right now. But I guess you want to go interesting. Go for it.
So like coming back a little bit. How do you feel though about the growth of football in the community so far? There's been a lot of opportunities really like opening up recently. So and now you're one of the clubs too that or teams that have opened a new opportunity.
Football has always grown. Like if you look at it, it's like the number one sport for every youth player because everybody plays it at the beginning. Yeah, it's just long term. Once you hit the older ages, who will continue? And in recent years, now there's more teams, more players wanting to do soccer. There's more opportunities for coaches. Where we're slacking off in that end, as a community for soccer, my personal opinion, is the coaching formation, the way we're forming coaches. Certain coaches may get titles because of who they know, where they've been, but do you really have the background to actually coach a team and develop? Yeah. I think at the youth level, a lot of the coaches, especially first and second year coaches, should be obligated to have a mentor who's at the highest level with the older teams, as that is your guide, that is your mentor to reflect off and learn certain things and develop your team properly, as opposed to coaches that, I want to coach this year, I got my Class C license or whatever the grassroots license is, and then coming in and literally just doing basic AYSO stuff, especially in the club level, because now it's really competitive. Like you got a lot of coaches that know what they're doing, but then you also have a majority of coaches that are way behind the curve. Yeah. And so, especially now at this time, like you said, develop for the future. Like, not only should you know technical stuff for training, formations, but you should also know how to build a team chemistry. You should also know how to complement players together, what works best, what to catch, so that down the line you're not suffering with parents, because when it comes down to the end, especially at the youth level, it's the parents. Oh yeah. And we've all been through that. I've done it. Yeah. I've done it. But I've learned the hard way. Yeah. Unfortunately, Eileen has paid for it a little bit, but it's made her stronger as a player and more understandable to the sport. But I think parents literally are way, way behind the curve, and they will always be. There's no coaching or lessons for them. It's just, it is what it is. You'll learn. Either you're going to set your player or your son or daughter, you're going to set them way back with your actions, or you're going to learn to let them develop quietly. Let them do their thing. Let the coaches do their thing. That's important. And I think, if we want to make this sport especially on the women's side, like we have to have accountability as far as coaches, and that's something we don't have.
Interesting. Accountability is important. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
you think that like coaching, because I like what you said about how it's kind of like the opening kind of sport for kids when they're younger, but the thing is keeping that retention as you get older. And you think like coaching is probably like the biggest problem with that.
I think
Coaching
it's
or
I think
parents?
it's a mixture of both the parents and the coaches,
Okay.
because obviously if you have a coach that's especially here in the U.S.
Oh.
we have coaches that are formerly football players,
Yeah.
Oh yes, I know.
and they think that chemistry or their mechanics for the way they used to coach American football, is the same, and it can transition to soccer, and it's not. You cannot do the drill start. There is discipline. Obviously, there is discipline in anything you do, whether it's from karate to golf. There's discipline, and in soccer, there's discipline as well. But you have to manage that differently. Certain teams, I mean, you go to teams and you can see where coaches don't say anything, and the teams automatically start warming up on their own. They know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
They've been disciplined properly. Or you go to some soccer games or practices and you see the coach just yelling the whole time. And that doesn't help either. It's just learning how to do, and that's why I think it's important for first-year coaches to be under the guidance of somebody with experience and that has a good track record.
Yeah.
So that they can become better coaches and develop players and their teams at the same time. Because in the end, the greatest satisfaction that any coach can have is seeing what they can do after you. Yeah. Did you put in the discipline? Did you put in that sportsmanship, the quality of a good person, not just a player, but a good person that, I've talked to this to my boys team is, you got to be very responsible with what you want to do, especially if you even want to go to college and play. Your social media has to be clean. Everything has to be clean. You cannot just, party on the weekend, put up everything you did on the weekend on your social media and expect nobody to see that. From what I understand recently, there's agents, companies, sports agents who are now hiring companies to investigate players or do background checks and see what they're doing in their social life before they even get contracts, because they don't want anything coming back to haunt them. And so why aren't we doing that from day one as young coaches with young players, where, hey, this may trigger later down into your future and cause you problems. So now it's like you have to, like I said, it's a lot of responsibility for coaches now. You want to have a good player, a quality player that can play with anybody. You want to make sure that it's a student athlete, not athlete student. So you want to make sure that their grades are good and they got good study habits, so that these colleges will look at them and say, yeah, I'm willing to risk bringing them into my program. And then a good person. What are they doing for themselves? What are they giving back to the community? What future do they have that shows us that we're willing to take a full risk on that player? And that's what it comes down to at the end, at least for us.
Yeah. No, it's great, because it's great you talk about the responsibility, because I think a lot of people don't think about that too much, because being a coach isn't just training them and just going there and going back home and whatever. It's being a good role model, which I think is a big responsibility that every coach has. Me as a coach, same thing with me. Just being a good role model for them is always important, at least for me.
Well, if you don't mind asking, what do you coach?
I coach all levels. So I'm a trainer. So whenever I'm part of this company, so whenever like a team needs a trainer or something, I go and train them. So I've done every age group from 4 years old all the way up to 18. It's a high school level. So I've had different experience with all different types of levels, and they all have their different ways of coaching, right? Because a 4-year-old is not going to be the same as an 18-year-old, right?
Okay. But even as a trainer, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because there are a lot of trainers out here now.
Yeah.
You see them on social media doing their training with all these kids, and that's great. Go through the steps, the process of first touch, headers, how to defend, how to attack, how to transition. As trainers, and developing the body to be able to react to that and doing that, that's great. Right. I love all that. I love watching these videos. The one thing missing, when do you talk to them about sportsmanship? Maybe it's not something you have to deal with, and that's great. But I look at these social media sometimes, and I see these trainers, and I see players that I know personally have bad attitudes or not team players. The extra work is great. I love seeing players do the extra work. And I believe that if you're trying to live to the level that Jen plays, that you don't just go with your team 2 to 3 days a week and train there. You got to find your own way of training, whether it be with a trainer or on your own at the beach or whatever it is on a tennis court juggling. You got to find other ways of training. But if you do go and find a trainer, what is that trainer bringing to your game?
Right.
Not just in the physical aspect and the technical, but as a human being, what kind of trainers are you looking for?
Right. I mean, my whole philosophy is less about, becoming the best player, but more about becoming a better person. That's always been my philosophy with these kids, and just teaching them good manners when, meeting new people, get to know their names, at least, new teammates, get to know their names, figure out your positions, stuff like that, just get them, having some type of preparing them for the future, networking and stuff like that.
Like you said, networking.
Right.
It's funny you said that because I think if you really want to throw these players out into real world situations, like, with Jen going to Puerto Rico or wherever she may be, even with her Guatemala national team, she doesn't see those players all the time, right? She's not constantly surrounded by them, constantly training with them. So when you do, as a player, do you fit right in? Can you play with anybody? And I think, it still happens to this day where teams are so comfortable with each other that they forget the outside world. So a good example is club. These girls train year round with each other, men or women. They train year round, so they're comfortable with that team. But come high school season, it's a whole different story because now you're bringing in players from a different club. You may have 3 or 4 different teams that are coming into play together at high school. And every team has a different coaching philosophy, different playing style. And right away you can pick it out, the teams that do that. So you'll see, for instance, 3 players from Slammers, per se, right? And 3 players from Surf and 3 players from Explosion. Do they all know how to just play together? Can the coach catch that and make it together so that it doesn't seem like high school is such a waste of time? Because that's what coaches in the club world hate seeing that, because they feel like the high school season is it sets back everything that we've built up during the year, that when it comes to high school season, we're just like, oh, really? Can't wait till this is over. But if I see a coach out there that can say, hey, you don't play for that club anymore. You don't play for that club. You play for us. And so my style is we all play together, we all work together, and we all build off of that. If I could see that, then great.
Right.
But a majority of high schools aren't like that. And so
high school coaches is different.
So when we see that, it's just like we're looking at our clocks, at our calendars, like, when is this going to be over?
Counting down the days.
Honestly, if they get into CIF, I believe that genuinely we're all happy that they're getting into CIF, but we're like, oh, please be over already, because
2 more weeks.
That takes away, for a lot of the club teams, that takes away from national, getting ready for National Cup. That takes away from that. So we're just like, come on, like, be over already. But at the same time, we're stuck in, like, let's be happy about it because they're moving forward.
I had a question from one of my listeners. They wanted to know, I guess this is a question for the girls, by the way. Do you think girls feel like you need to be less feminine to gain more respect playing the sport?
Well, one time during a game, I heard a coach tell his player that, you're kicking like a girl. And I told him, well, she is a girl. But I think
glasses.
I personally don't feel like I have to be more masculine to play.
Right.
But I feel like I rarely see female coaches, and I think that's what makes some people probably feel like they need to be more masculine for their coaches to see them as a better player.
Oh, right. Interesting. Yeah. Actually, that's a good. Actually, let me have you answer actually too, and then.
I agree, but I think it depends. how you grew up.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
myself, I don't have sisters. I grew up with brothers. So that made me tougher, and it made me play like a guy, I guess. That's what some used to tell me when I was younger. You play like a guy, but I don't see it. So I think it really depends how you started off. Because now, from all the players that I've seen in different countries, a lot of them, the way they play like a guy, but they kick like a guy. It's just, but they're literally girly girls off the field. Like, we all wear dresses. But then when we're playing, like, you know, we wear those high shorts. Like, we can look like a girl, play like a girl, but just our style, our movement, I guess we play like a guy. But I never had that happen to me. But I've heard, like what she said, I've heard coaches, come on, you're a girl, come on, you can go more, you can hit a guy. Like, imagine you get hit by a guy. Well, first of all, we're playing against females, not guys.
Yeah.
And we are females.
Yeah, so I can say yes, and then at the same time I can say it just depends.
Just depends on the
mentality,
situation.
And I feel like the men's side is more worldwide, and so those are like people's idols, and we don't really have the female idols because the men have always been on top.
Right.
But honestly, I think, no offense, but I think
go
some guys act like girls on the field.
Hey, that's a good.
That's
valid.
That's funny. That's funny that Jen mentions that because you know there are memes out there on social media where you see world-class players that they get touched and they're rolling on the ground.
Yeah, true.
To be honest with you, I've seen even from women's side, I've seen girls take hits and I'm just like, wow, like how'd you get up and roll out of that? Like how are you still playing? But I mean, I guess it's in perception. Like who and like we said earlier, it's who you surround yourself with. Obviously at LA Salsa and even in our league, we don't really look at, you got to play like a man to be better. No, it's just like you're a woman, you can play at that level. Show us what you got. Like, obviously she's, Jen just mentioned, like, there's girls that kick hard, they hit hard when they're defending, they do everything that it looks almost like a man. But come end of the game or on their own personal time, you couldn't tell because they're dressed like women, they're like girly girl, and it's, as a coach, it's weird sometimes because you're just like, wait, but I just saw you like sweating, covered in dirt and mud, and now you're girly, but it's a perception of it just who you surround yourself with. Obviously if you're surrounded with good people that don't see that, then it shouldn't matter. I think
I was gonna say I feel like it shouldn't matter. Like just play as your own. Why should it be about boys and girls?
Like we've gone and played pickup games here in the city of Lakewood, Long Beach, and I've taken Eileen and other players that I've trained with as well, and we'll jump in with the men, and you could tell in the first 5 minutes that they don't really want to pass them the ball because they don't have the confidence because they don't know them, and they don't know them, and the second thing is they see a girl. I get that. Okay, it's all right, but as soon as they give them a pass and they see what the girl's capable of, all of a sudden they're like, everybody's jumping around happy, like, all right, now we can ball. Like, we're not going to slow down just because there's girls on the field. We're going to play at the same level, and you can see that transition. It's so funny. Like if you guys ever go and play pickup, just watch that. Just watch how all of a sudden like a girl will be introduced and they feel like it's got to slow down. But then once that girl, I take Jen anywhere, we
she played pickup with us one time.
You were there, right? I played. Futsal is a whole new game. It's been a while, but it took me a while, and eventually I hit guys, like I hit them, like I just get low and hit them.
And then all of a sudden their eyes pop open.
And then they hit me. They actually try to hit me, but that's from, playing the high levels, you have to be careful, You have to take care of your body. Don't do anything stupid. Like, don't try and hit the guy also, because then eventually you can get hurt and then you hurt. So that's something, I'm always kind of easy, but at the same time, I kind of need to go a little harder.
Of course, get a little push in there.
Every now and then.
I guess just to finish off, Or Tristan, do you have any?
I just had a quick question back to the club. I was wondering, so what is the next goal for the club? Is there any way you can move any further up in another division, or is it just?
We can always move up.
Okay.
There's other leagues, other opportunities, but with that is more financial backing, bigger sponsors more than likely.
Yeah.
And with that is, we never, and I'm like I said, I'm kind of talking for Aaron here,
Yeah.
but the bigger picture is just being bigger, just
Okay.
trying to get to that higher level for everybody, not just for us as a coaching staff or as a club, just getting the women there, getting them that exposure that they deserve and need.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
I guess just to finish off, what is I guess for all of you guys, what is some advice you would give to girls trying to make it into a professional career in soccer or any career where women aren't really represented in?
I would say just to not be discouraged by people's words. Like, just come back and show them physically what you can do, and continue doing what you love.
I would say discipline. It's harder than you think it is, being disciplined. That's what I've been doing since I was young, discipline. I didn't really get to see much of the world, meaning I didn't get to hang out with my friends at, parties all the time. It's just, it was never really my thing. That's just me. Just because I always saw what I wanted. Like, when I was in elementary school, I remember I was in the bathroom. I don't know why I was in the bathroom, but I was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I just walked out of the bathroom and I was like, I'm going to be a professional soccer player. I'm going to play for a national team. Probably not USA or who knows, or wherever we're from, which is Guatemala. I was young, so
Yeah.
and I just, ever since that, I was like, okay. And I never had, when I was younger, I never had all the resources that the kids have nowadays. My parents didn't have money to put me in a good club where all the players can play in the ENSL league. I don't know what that is.
ECNL.
Yeah.
Yes, that. I never did that. What I did, I was just very disciplined. And to me, I think that players that want to pursue their career, it doesn't matter where you're playing, who you're playing for, as long as you're working discipline. And not only that, but something that my friend taught me is get to know people. Talk to people. Don't isolate yourself. Discipline, don't isolate yourself, because if you don't go out there talking to people, getting to know people, play with other friends, you're not going to know, I guess, the soccer community. Soccer is such a small world.
Yeah.
That's how I did it. I started getting to know people, and that's where it got me to wherever I ended up.
For sure.
So, discipline and talk to people. That's
Yeah, really, just throwing yourself out there is very important. I think for pretty much any field.
now social media is crazy right
It
now.
is.
Anything you put on social media,
Yeah.
a workout video, people will like it. People will see
Got those hashtags.
you gotta get the follows.
Get the follows. Elmer?
Sacrifice, discipline, and drive. Those are the three things that, as a coach, as a father of a player, what I've always looked for. The sacrifice, like I said, there are kids out there, a majority of kids that are playing high school soccer, whether it be the female or the male side, you got to sacrifice. You cannot go party one night or 2 nights a week and then go play. It just doesn't work that way.
I wanted to.
These kids sacrifice.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice a lot. The discipline. You have to know how to take direction and get into a routine and know that in the bigger picture, it's to make you a better player, a better person.
Yeah.
And the drive, you got to be hungrier than anybody out there. If you think you're good, there's always somebody out there that wants more than you.
Yeah.
And so in the real world, everything's about being competitive. And if you want it more, then you're going to do everything to get more. It applies in sports and it applies to life. But if you want to do everything half, then that's what you're going to get. If you want to train halfway, you're going to play like half a player. You'll probably play half. That's it. You know, like you can't expect to play a full game if you're not willing to work more.
Yeah.
You know, with all three of those things at the end, you know, people will respect you to see what type of person you are. If you're a good, solid, all-around person, you know, the game is the game. You know, people will always love watching you play, but if you're a good person in general, people will remember that. You know, they'll remember you more, and they'll want you around more, and you'll have more doors, more opportunities opening for you. If, as a person, not only are you a great player, but you're a great person, those opportunities will be there for you.
Wow, good stuff. I like it. You know, thank you guys. I think we'll finish there, but thank you guys for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. It's such an interesting topic because women in sports, you know, if I were to ever have a daughter, I would want them to be raised in a world where they're empowered to pursue something and not feel discouraged as you are. So I think it's a super important topic that I just appreciate you guys, you know, just coming out and talking about it.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, do we have anything you guys want to plug? Plug the Instagram.
Salsa Women SC on Facebook, Instagram. Let's see, All Fit Gym in San Pedro.
Your partners.
Partners. Yeah.
Physical therapy, Dr. Brown.
Got it.
Thank you. Score Sports for the uniforms. Thank you.
Any new merch?
Upper 90
Yeah.
Oh,
College. Our official sponsor, Upper 90 College. Thank you guys so much for everything that you've done. Who are we missing? We're missing somebody. Oh, Team Momager, Wendy. Wendy, thank you for everything you do. Obviously, Aaron, thank you for everything you've done. And Tarzan and Ben, and all the players that are with us and are battling through the season with us.
Right on. Yeah. Jennifer, you want to plug your Instagram?
Since people like my Instagram, I guess.
Of course.
Follow me at JENNMN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And, you know, if you want any fitness advice, hit me up.
Yeah.
I also do part-time personal trainer.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. She's super fit, by the way.
Yeah.
Really
No.
fit. Yeah,
Yeah,
check out that Instagram.
No, you gotta
Check
see
it out.
the
Look at that
abs.
Instagram.
Look at the abs,
Look at the
okay?
abs.
Legit.
Okay. I'm still working on that.
Oh, still? I need to get mine.
No, I'm good.
Anything you want to plug, Eileen? No?
No.
Okay, cool. Don't forget to follow us at the.fa.show and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And yeah, we'll see you all listeners on the next one.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Peace.